This was Tom Rath, Conchie, strength-based leadership. Did a lot of research looking in lots of different organizations and basically discovered there's 4 key areas of leadership: executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. And all are critical to overall leadership. So rather than this kind of do a bit of this, do a bit of that, but actually there were 4 key things that are all critical. If we look at those in a kind of in turn, executing, being good at what you do day to day, good with your time, good with delivery on projects, high levels of personal productivity. And the flip side of, for example, this Norton Kaplan, 50% of the average employee's time is spent on non-productive work. I think this is 2025 European Leadership Report. Only 19% of leaders say they have enough time to fulfill their responsibilities with the depth and diligence required. That's another one of those, for me, smack you in the face statistics. This is kind of current stuff. 80%, 81%, 4/5 are saying, I just don't have the time to do what I'm supposed to do and do it well. And again, we find ourselves certainly doing a lot around time management, organization, productivity, communication, because we see that all the time. So executing, the second of those 4 things was influencing, which is less about what you do and more about who you are. Are you an influential person? Are you somebody that others will gladly follow? And some kind of key thoughts really around leaders that have recognized that personal leadership, that becoming the person of influence rather than particularly your leadership skills, techniques as such, is really important. And EQ fits kind of squarely in that influencing world where we're able to communicate well, recognize others' needs, read the room. This one, around 90% of top performers score high in EQ, and that social influence being one of the top 10 skills needed by 2030, according to the World Economic Forum. So we've got executing, we've got influencing. Third one was relationship building. That are you able to influence through your relationships? You can inspire, point the way forward, all of this stuff. And again, things, we won't kind of spend too long on these. You can see those on the screen. 4% of organizations inspire their employees. 44% of employees say their manager inspires enthusiasm for the work. And so there's a load that don't. And whether those, in our context, if we were to isolate it down to where we are, even if it's 20% that don't inspire enthusiasm for the work, there's a big miss there. So relationship building and the engagement crisis, again, this is Gallup 2025, back to pandemic era lows of employee engagement, again, which we saw earlier was really a lot down to the manager, the immediate manager, leader, the person that is most connected, and the loss of productivity. So executing, influencing, relationship building, and the fourth one of those stages or those areas was strategic thinking. 85% of exec teams spend less than 1 hour per month discussing strategy, and 50% virtually no time on strategic. 12% successfully execute strategy. So again, there's a big gap here, and it's easy, and we see it going back to those areas that things aren't done so well. There are kind of interventions in certain areas, but then big gaps in other areas. So even where people aren't one of the 81% who've never, the accidental leaders that have never had any formal training, often then that training doesn't cover all necessary areas. So they identified those 4 things. Kouzes and Posner, you may have heard of this. The Leadership Challenge is a really well-known piece of work, and the book has been republished. I think it's about the 9th or 10th edition. They asked the question, what qualities in leaders would inspire you to follow willingly? And there were 4 top answers. Honesty, really, that's about the influence you have. It's not a skill, is it? It's a character quality that influences people, and that was the top thing. Forward looking, which is very much the same as strategic thinking. Competent, that's executing, inspiring. Similar to relationship building, not exactly the same, but there's a similar. So looking at what people have discovered those kind of four key areas seem to be the area, and we'll have at the end kind of really interested to see whether that resonates, relates. Do you see that as staying true? The Kouzes and Posner, they turned those four things into their 5 exemplary practices model, which really fits into those 4 areas: model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, encourage the heart. It's that motivational side, it's the competence executing side, it's the relationship and influencing side as well. So interesting. And then these guys, Dalton and Thompson, made this statement: there is a direct correlation between a person's leadership stage and their contribution to the organization. High-performing organizations ensure that leaders are contributing within each stage and developing to the next. So again, really emphasizing this idea that leadership development is not a one-off, and it's not a one subject thing. It's a stage thing as somebody's career develops, perhaps even before they even have any management or leadership responsibilities, that we start to develop them as leaders in terms of their character, their qualities, the qualities required, that then equips them, and then we kind of slot in the various skills and aspects of the organizational side of things as they develop. So we're close to the end here, and then we're just opening these things up for discussion. Essentially, the message is development has to be a continuous process rather than a one-off. And that process isn't, well, our leadership development takes 3 weeks rather than 1 day. No, this is saying it's years. It's ongoing years, and it needs to be embedded within the organization. Interesting what you were saying, James, on internal versus external. And absolutely agree that getting some fresh ideas, fresh thinking people from different organizations is really important. On the flip side of that, developing internal leadership pipelines has a better hit rate in terms of that kind of fit and feel. And so I would say that kind of 60-40, maybe 70-30 of internal versus external seems to make a decent amount of sense. But you're getting fresh ideas and put talent in who's experienced outside scenarios, environments, as well as you're developing your internal leadership pipeline. 2 minutes on our response to this, and then we'll open it up for conversation. So LMI, mentioned at the beginning, we've been around for 65 years and recognized a lot of this stuff whilst also continually learning. We developed something called the Total Leader, which essentially takes those 4 stages as individual programs: the executing, influencing, relationship building, strategic thinking. Put 4 programs that we already had together and say, we can now embed these in organizations ongoing. And just as a kind of way of example, it would take an individual leader 2 to 3 years to complete all 4 of those stages, were they to do that consecutively. A lot of times they don't. It's a much more staged out process. Whilst also, and this was particularly kind of built around what the studies are, but this recognition of the total person, developing not just the worker, but developing the person, that personal leadership, character, qualities, etc. And we found that's working really well. And particularly with an emphasis on multisensory learning with spaced repetition. Not just a one and done, but giving the resources so people can check back in, listen to some audio, read some stuff, have some discussions, and do that multiple times starts to have a really big impact. We like this concept of the change process. So you've got success. What are we trying to achieve? What results do we need to get that success? And what are the behaviors? So what are, in the context of leadership development, what are the leadership behaviors we want people to achieve? If we just start there and try and embed those behaviors, it's rarely successful, because we need to recognize that attitudes underpin behaviors. And we have the attitudes that we have currently because of the conditioning influences that we've experienced over years. And so again, those words, or those two words, spaced repetition, the repeated exposure over time that conditions the way we think and the way that we behave. So again, thinking from leaders, but it applies in any context. If we want to get different results and achieve a different level of success, We have to break it down and start building things in with repetition that's going to positively recondition the way that we think and behave. So, in terms of what that looks like, that can be total leader coaching for individuals, and it can be spread out into organizations. And we call that the Total Leader Academy. But this is not a kind of a platform just to tell you what we do. It's just a response to what we've been learning, what we've been seeing, and what's going to be effective. We massively care about the idea that leaders make all the difference. And we will touch some of those leaders in terms of the ability to work with them, but there'll be loads that we don't get to work directly with. And if anybody would like to have a chat about that, I'll put that link in the chat box as well. Even if it's just to chat some more about these ideas, if you think it could be interesting, to get involved with and be have total leader stuff as part of your organization to deliver or to serve within your organization.